Hi, it is me, Bishop J from Camp Gilgal TV. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you safe. If it is your first time you come across this channel, we call in this channel, we are part of the community that is the Camp Gilgal TV channel community. If it is your first time you come across this channel, I kindly request you to subscribe. It will cost you nothing. You just click in that button that is below. It is written subscribe, but you just click there, then you become part of our community of Camp Gilgal TV. And once you do so, before the video finished, you like the video. And once you do so again, before the video run out completely, you share the link to all of your social media platform for them to arrive to understand the gospel. It's not just good to read the scripture, it is better to understand what you are reading. Once more again, welcome community. Tell the people it is the time of our Bible study. And it is Thursday when we do our Bible study. Today I choose the Bible study on the parable of the rich man and Lazarus. The parable of the rich man and Lazarus. It is in the book of Luke, chapter 16, verse 19 to verse 31. 19 to 31. That way you will find this amazing scripture on about the parable of a rich man and Lazarus. Today I will do just the overview in introductions and do not miss about it because it will carry you in other parts that will follow after today. That I'll do the introduction of this rich parable on the rich man and Lazarus. In a many Christian cycle, it is not fashionable anymore today to talk about hell and judgment. I can even go further. Other preachers don't want to even to talk about heaven anymore. You say, we are not here to send you to heaven or to make you understand about heaven and all of it. They don't want to talk about it. But will show you what really Christ says about this topic. And they say we rather be positive than negative. They say we rather be positive than negative. And they say again, we don't want to draw people to Christ by fear, but we want to bring them closer to Christ by love. I agree on that. I'm telling you, and I get that. I'm telling you, I get that. I can give you this example. A long time ago, in my early Christianity, there was an evangelist who was preaching all the time. They will say, this is a time for you to receive Christ. You don't know, maybe when you go out here, you died and you refuse to receive Christ here, you go straight to hell. That's how he was presenting the gospel to bring people to Christ. Understand. You say you want to share more about love. I get that. But the truth is that Jesus Christ, our Master, taught at some length about judgment. He taught at some length about the judgment. And to be his true disciple, we need to study this area of his teaching. If you want to be a true disciple of Christ, then you need to study the Bible as a whole. You don't need to handpick the topic that it favor you. No, you study everything. That's why sometimes I laugh when I hear a pastor say, I am a specialist in this domain. That's where the Lord has called me, in this domain only. No, there is no such a thing. The Lord has called us to preach the gospel as a whole, not in one specific area. Get that? Write that down. Write that down. In a whole, not one specific. We are not specialists. We are generalists in a Bible interpretation. Write that down. Write it down. Okay, the role reversal at the judgment. There is a role reversal at the judgment. Matthew chapter 20, verse 16, that the role reversal, the way I call it. Write it down. He said, the last will be first, and the first will be last. I love this scripture. I am telling you, the last will be first, and the first will be last. Be careful, and you may be found guilty of this verse of Matthew chapter 20, verse 16. Where the parable of the rich man and Lazarus appear in Luke, Jesus has been teaching about materialism and the money. That the context of Luke chapter 16. That where this parable of rich man and Lazarus appear. It is in a context of where Jesus Christ is preaching about materialism and money. You need to know that. You need to know that. And his audience, when you read the verse 1 of chapter 16, then you set up everything. His audience include his disciple, his audience of people who were listening to him, including his disciple, as well as the Pharisees who love money. The Pharisees love money so much. They are no difference of 21st century modern people. We love money so much. Even the churches today, we love money so much. And he tells the story that contrasts one who is, this story is a story of a huge contrast, a white and black. That is a contrast that I'm talking about. White and black here is a huge contrast about extremely a rich man with one who is also extremely poor guy. You see, it is so radical. This one and this one, the two poles, there is no link or connection at all. A rich extreme in this side, a extremely poor man in this side. That portrayal of picture Jesus was painting there. The portrayal or a parable. Let me go in the detail. Is this parable of the rich man and the poor Lazarus, is it a portrayal or a parable? This is a question I'm asking. I'm going to answer it soon. Before we get into the parable or whether, we need to ask ourselves, is this a portrayal, as I said before, of an actual situation or a parable? A story for the sake of a comparison. A parable is a story for the sake of a comparison. A portrayal is a real fact situation that it called portrayal. I'm portraying what happened to the life of the great Tambwe, my grandfather. That is a portrayal. A parable is not a real factual story. Now, is the parable of a rich man and the Lazarus divinely inspired portrayal of heaven? That's the question I'm asking. Is a divinely portrayal of heaven? It seems different when you read it very careful and you observe it very well. It seemed very different, for example, from what the book and the picture of Revelation portray us of what the heavens is all about. It seems very different when you read it and you observe it and you observe what the book of the Revelation is telling us. Now, in a parable, let's go to detail of a parable before I conclude for today. In a parable, the story does not ought to be about real people. In a parable, the story does not ought to be about real people. It is a parable because it's not a real event or even real situation. That is the parable. But the parable goal is to achieve its teaching, to achieve its teaching goal. A parable is a very good story, and remember, the people of the East, they are very good on rhyming stories and poesy and all of it, and it will attract the people to carefully follow you to the end. And the people of Jesus' time, and Jesus knows them very well, they were catched by his parable because they wanted to hear it to the end. A parable must be striking and memorable. A parable must be striking and memorable. Sometimes our churches today, a preacher stand in front of us, his first word that come out is a joke, and a bad test joke, that people will remember all of that old sermons and they came out without knowing whatsoever he was talking about. But a parable must be striking and memorable. It must be. It must be striking and it must be memorable. That is a parable. So that, as the story or a comparison, is retold and remembered. When it's striking and memorable, and that story must be retold, and remembered. You know, in life, you must also be sometimes very striking and you must be memorable, because people must not, when you pass somewhere and you are no longer there, let people remember you and tell the people the story of you, and to say, there was a man among us here. Wow, such a man is memorable. Get that? And then he said, the hearer must be able to imagine the situations. And the hearers, they must be able to imagine the situations. Don't stand before people, you start talking things, they have no hate, they have no tells, they have no nothing. People don't understand. What are you trying to say? But what you say, it must be memorable, and people must remember it and must imagine the situations. The character of this, that I'm concluding now, the character of this parable of the rich man and the Lazarus are, there is the rich man himself. His name was not given to us. And the poor Lazarus. But the poor man, the name was given to us. And Father Abraham. These are the main three characters in this story of the rich man and the poor Lazarus. We must remember, keep this, we must remember that parables are vignette. Parable are the vignette. Not a system. Parable is not a system. And certainly not. Parable is not a systematic theology. Parable is not a systematic theology. I will conclude today here. We need to remember this. Write it down. We must remember that parables are vignette. are a vignette, not a system. Parable is not a system. Parable is not a systematic theology. Is not. Write it down. May God bless you. Keep subscribing. It is your host, Bishop J.